Hi there, and welcome to our reflections on Friday, the 1st of May. I want to reflect on a place today. In fact, more than a place, the people of a place. If there's anywhere on the planet, it could be said, that might understand just what is needed to combat a deadly illness like what we're going through at the moment, then it is a small village in Derbyshire, a village which has a community now of 900 people. Nothing remarkable in that. But I guess some of you are already thinking, I know what that village is. If I said to you the name I Am, then maybe you've got a better idea of where I'm talking about. In the village of I Am at the moment, there's signs of the coronavirus everywhere. General stores are shut. There's notes in the windows saying that those who manage the store have underlying health conditions and cannot open them. There's nothing remarkable in that. There's other things in the village, the local museum and whatever, that are closed because the volunteers are all over 70 and can't be around with others. And even the local minister's family, the rector of the village, his family are in self-isolation. His wife, as a teacher, was the first person to come down with coronavirus, and so they were all in isolation for a time. Have you worked out what the village is yet, or its significance? Well, it's a very significant village, of course, because it was in I Am that we saw one of the bravest acts in human history, and one of the most significant, and one that can share a lot for us today, because it was there during one of the most terrible times in English history that villagers now took the now famous decision to quarantine themselves during the outbreak of the Great Plague, the Black Death, the bubonic plague, during 1665 to 1666. For 6 months, they self-isolated as a whole village to prevent the disease, a disease which had travelled all the way from London, supposedly via fleas trapped in cloth. They did that to prevent it from spreading anywhere further north of where they were. By the time the infection was over, 260 of the population of about 700 at the time had died. Entire families were wiped out. There are many tales told of the village, but one is of one woman, Elizabeth Hancock, who lost her husband and 6 children in the space of just 8 days. Because the rules and regulations had been put in place at the time, stipulated that families had to bury their own dead, she was forced to dig their graves. Can you imagine that? But that hard strategy paid off in terms of the disease. A disease which eventually, yes, killed over 100,000 people in the capital alone, in London alone. But it was contained by a brave act from one small village. That nightmare scenario of that disease then having spread from London to I Am, to other places like the big towns of the time, which were Bakewell, Manchester and Sheffield, that was averted. Thousands of people lived because of those who sacrificed themselves. How can we relate that to what's going on today? Well, the rector of I Am, of the parish there, is the Reverend Mike Gilbert, and he says this: "It was an act of courage almost beyond comprehension." The remarkable thing is how the actions they took 350 years ago in this pre-science, pre-medical age are essentially the same as we, as a world, are taking today. self-isolation, stopping travelling, and an emphasis on community solidarity to combat panic. These were all key then, just as they are now. Things have not changed so very much. Of course, I am at the end of the play, when there have been no further infections for a period of time, celebrated by ringing the church bells, and let's hope churches throughout our country will reach that stage eventually. We don't know when that age is. Some say we're beginning or contemplating the times when we might come out of lockdown. Who knows? All I know is we need to be careful, and we need to bear in mind what the people of IAM did, that brave step they took. We're seeing how the islands around the United Kingdom are being used to see how things are working out, and how smaller closed communities can maybe give us an idea of how things are going in the weeks and months ahead. There's the debate on how we should stop passing on the infection to others. Are face masks the thing to do? Some say yes, some say no, and especially that we should pass any face masks on to those who work in our health services and care services. It seems to be that still the best thing we can do is keep washing hands, keep social distancing, and keep isolating if where we're being asked to, and where it's important. I want to read to you a Bible story of the time when Jesus met 10 lepers, and listen for key phrases that come out in this passage. It's from Luke chapter 17, verses 11 to 19. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus said, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." Two things there. One was a phrase that you may have picked up in verse 12, keeping their distance. The lepers came to Jesus. An important thing for us to point out, but perhaps most importantly, on being healed, the one who came back to thank Jesus. Last night, again, through all over the country, we were applauding those who work on our behalf, carers, health workers, essential workers, saying thank you to them. Just like the leper who returned to Jesus, we should be thanking them and thanking God that we have these people who take care of us and who watch over us. Just as those throughout England were thankful for those people of IAM who self-isolated back then, so we should also be thankful for those who are sensibly self-isolating as they need to at the moment. We should all be keeping our distance and carry on doing so until we are advised otherwise. Let's not jump the gun. Wonderful as it would be to see others and to be out there meeting with others again, let's give thanks for those who are sensible, as so many gave thanks for the people of IAM. And let's prevent things spreading any further. It is up to each of us, like those lepers, like the people of IAM, to act responsibly. I want to close with a prayer from the Iona Abbey worship book. Let us pray. To Pharisees minding their business and fishermen mending their nets, Jesus said, "Follow me." To the money handlers, the lawyers, the intellectuals, the power brokers, Jesus said, "Follow me." To the carers and cleaners, to the married, the single, the young and the old, country folk in villages and city dwellers, Jesus said, "Follow me." Then and now, together and apart, willing or doubting, ready or not, Jesus still says, "Follow me." So we believe and trust in God, who has created and is creating, who has come in Jesus, the Word made flesh, to reconcile and make new, and who works in us and others by the power of the Spirit. We are called to be God's people on earth, to celebrate God's presence, to live with respect for creation, to love and serve others, to seek justice and resist evil, to proclaim Jesus crucified and risen, our judge and our hope. In life and death, in life beyond death, God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God. So, great God, in the days and weeks and months ahead, ask much of us, expect much from us, enable much by us, and encourage many through us. And then take us out to live as changed people, because in this time and this space we have met the risen Christ and cannot be the same. So in gratitude for this time, for those around us who do so much for us, Christ among us, we give ourselves to you, our God. Amen. Amen. God bless.